Yo, boys, back with another video. Today we're going to be doing some good old-fashioned sub-rogue. I got a few clips for you here. Again, we're just gearing. I had a little bit of time to log on, and so I decided to make a video out of it. You guys seem to like the sub-rogue, so that's what we're going to be doing here. And we are running the trickster build. Now, you'll see a lot of these games. Honestly, I feel like Sub Rogue, if you're currently best in slot, it feels great here. We pop every cooldown, and again, a lot of people do underestimate Sub Rogue. So it's kind of like situations like these, to where this guy clicks wall, doesn't click a single CD other than fear, and these guys just, he trinketed, and then got immediately kidneyed and then feared. That was a huge mistake, which lost them the game. Thankfully, I DR blind at the very end. Again, when they get that low and they don't have trinket, throw out every DR CC you can, even if it's blind. Because as you can see, that 3-second DR blind is what won us the game. And it's funny, it's ironic, because they ended up almost living that, and the warrior had trinket the entire time. So it's like, we got very lucky. If the healer just waited till we got feared and then triggered, they would have been able to live. They would have been able to orb him, and we just had enough damage to take him out, but thankfully we did. For the next game here, we face a warlock. Warlocks are our worst enemy. Um, they're just immortal, especially it really just comes down to damp. You'll never kill Warlock until high damp as a rogue. It's not gonna happen. They basically have 30-second wall. Here we triple sap, we stun, and then we're gonna blind off his trinket, and he's still 100% HP. So that's just his one wall. That's a 30-second cooldown. Because by the time the wall ends, it's already at 30 seconds. So like it's an insanely broken wall that you can use in a stun, dark pack or whatever it's called. But in dampening, the wall doesn't get affected. This guy literally walls air, which this is a key thing to where they're allowed to do that versus Sub Rogue, because they know Sub Rogue, you can't actually kill anything off your blades. It's not possible unless you're playing with a mage. You can literally do what he just did. So here, my guy put a bleed on him, so I can't sap him. Again, when you're playing with Sub Rogue, don't bleed the healer, because there are situations where you'll see during this video, we get an insane sap out of nothing, and if he had a bleed on him, wouldn't have, we wouldn't have been able to do that. So here he gets gripped like 12 times. I try to catch him here. Pretty much, unless you got a stun ready and you're ready to CC the healer, don't even bother getting ready to go. So, and I want to say, I think we get a solid setup. My guy needs the fear off that. It looks like he does. So yeah, we get a good fear. And I try to sap. I instead gouge so we can just keep the go going. And that's pretty much where we go. Again, he PS when nobody was even attacking him. And again, that's kind of just, people just are, they forget that Sub Rogue is not an assassination rogue. My bleeds are sure, they're solid, but by no means are they going to actually do anything until dampening. Like, they're just something just for the extra burst when you actually press every cooldown. So here he trinkets on my kidney. Honestly, I shouldn't have even stunned him, honestly. I should have just immediately lined, but you can't let a Warlock ever recast, especially when, we have a CC chain going. So I guess it ended up being good, so we can just keep pressure going. Because at the end of the day, as a Sub Rogue isn't a specific comp setup, which means you're gonna win most of these games by dampening people. The you don't have the enough burst damage to close out a game when when you don't do damage off of your burst. That's the problem with these type of specs, and that's why you don't see any Windwalkers, you don't see any DHs, because they're all burst reliant specs. It's not like a BM Hunter or an Affliction Warlock or a Fury. Like, it's just, there's so many other options that you can pick. So here we go for the sap again. You're looking for these type of saps. When they're going across the map, and you can do stuff like that, it's the perfect opportunity to get a sap. And you may not think it's worth it, but the fact that he's not healing during that time, and it gives me enough time to just keep pressuring him until eventually we just put enough CC on him to where we just get that last eviscerate. Thankfully, if I got dispelled immediately, we would have killed him right here, but thankfully I ended up just in time getting out. I smoked by myself because I know the healer is going to try to kill me. Thankfully, we end up getting away because I gouged him and we end up living. So yeah, when you're looking at Sub Rogue, even when you're full gear, this is kind of just how it is. Your goal is not to kill somebody in the opener. That's kind of, like, Shadowlands Rogue was the last time you were ever able to do that, other than when Sub Rogue was actually broken and, Dragonflight and stuff. But Sub Rogue is a dampener. Unfortunately, that's kind of how the spec is now. Again, you have a lot of burst damage, and it's great. But, you know, when you have 6 different cooldowns that you can use to counter somebody's burst, there's really nothing you can do. It doesn't matter how much damage you have, when you don't do damage off your burst, and you have to wait 2 minutes, they have every cooldown. So here we sap the warrior, trying to bait his enrage just to bait it, because our main goal is to go druid, warrior, druid, warrior. We're just going back and forth. We haven't clicked blades yet, so there's no point. We're going to immediately vanish this and go on him here. We want to save cloak for when we're actually doing a ghost, so we can cloak his fear. So here we're going to shadow Widow immediately before he can intervene or fear. Unfortunately, we didn't really get anything. Unfortunately, another situation where our burst just was irrelevant. His skin literally countered our entire CC. But again, then this is another situation. We just got double trinket when my entire burst was already done. My guy also, he might have PI'd me late, but it's okay. So here again, we get a good kidney setup. We go on the druid because the warrior's DR'd and he's sitting a full fear, so that's nice. We get trank, he instantly cancels his trank, so that's nice. And you gotta look for these situations. This is the game that you'll see where we get a sap out of nothing. Now, if you're going the druid, you can bleed him. So here we immediately gouge him because we don't have kick and we don't want to just use evasion on a druid. So we just gouge him. So depending on who you're feeling on going, again, it's all situational. It's like, okay, well, does this guy have hots on him? Does this guy feel like he's not gonna die? This guy preemptively died with the swords. Kind of big mistake because he iron barks and skins on top of it. So this guy just skinned when I wasn't even going him, which again is really good for us. We disarm his burst, and this is where we're looking for the sap. So our healer's pushing in for the fear. We have vanished. I see him feared. I'm gonna immediately vanish, run across, sap him. I can't sap him. Nope, I do get the sap. Beautiful. We come back, do a big dam, and when he comes around, we aren't gonna sap. So here I meant to step kick him. I ended up almost disarming the druid on accident. I meant to disarm the warrior, but I didn't have it at the time. So here I'm trying to step. You'll see that I literally tried to step disarm him instead of kick, but it's whatever. So here we're looking for the sap. So we see him in cat form, and you'll see we're gonna immediately go in shadow dance and sap him mid cast. Beautifully done by the X. And that's just another situation where you get those saps off out of nothing, and you gotta look for those, because as you can see, we get a triple sap into a kidney, into a blind on his trinket. He literally goes across the map off that blind. We can DR fear, and then off that, we can literally shadow Widow and kill him. A beautiful setup that was just perfectly done. And those saps that I just do, those will win you games, because that's literally all you're looking for. It only takes 6 seconds, so if they're full HP, which they were, he was just going in cat, and he was trying to come, you know, going for a CC chain. And they don't really think that a rogue's gonna do that, because again, that's a high-level gameplay. Just being able to sample like that out of nothing, it's very rare that somebody ever does that, especially when it's literally out of nothing. There was nothing that was happening. There was no CC going on, it was just a normal, just, you know. So this guy decides to just survive like a normal healer. These guys love to do this when they lose because they're so upset. So I'm like, okay, he's gonna try to get my trinket and then convoke me. We've already seen him convoke. So what he's trying to do is he's trying to get my trinket and he's gonna convoke me and try to one-shot me. So we're not gonna trinket. And you might think this is a little over, you know, precautious or whatever, but I've died to a druid before with convoke from 100 to 0, so I'm not gonna be trying that today. Here we end up taking him out, very nice. And we get to the next game. So this is the game that we actually lost, which I think I personally played pretty good in. For Assassination Rogues and Feral Druids, I like to run the Cloak Bubble, which is basically takes off all the bleeds. What happens is, he death marks me, I use my cloak, it counter reacts all of his CDs. The only time I can die is on his burst. That's what it usually should be. Unfortunately, I don't know what we were doing this game, but you'll see that that did not go how I thought it was going to go. Because we were really far ahead. We just needed some fat heals. We'll see what happens in this game, though. So here, I'm looking for the rogue. If the rogue immediately comes out, I'm going to try to sap. If I can't sap, I'm going to cheap shot. Then he needs to fear off the cheap shot. He's going to pre-PS on the blades, obviously, because that's just how it is. You could instantly blind and maybe, you know, get that going. But I usually don't do it, because it's like, they're going to use cooldowns in the opener anyway, regardless. So what's the point of using blind right there when you can just keep doing a go? So here we get him low. He has evasion up. There's no point. Here I smoke bomb him. I'm going to trinket cloak on the death mark. So basically I counter react all of his cooldowns. I cheap shot the healer. I'm not going to blind. I'm going to go and gouge him. And then off DR, we're just doing damage. We're looking for kicks. We kidney shot here. We're looking for the blind the moment it's off DR. We're looking for the restun for even if it's DR'd. And then off that, we're looking for that blind immediately. So here we get his trinket, boom. And you think we'd be fine because, you know, we have every cooldown, double PS, swap, dome, rupture. Unfortunately, my guy gets CC'd and I die. So let me know what you guys think about this video. Make sure you check out my Patreon down below. Otherwise, it's been X, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace, peace.